All right, hi, this is Stephen Young. We're back with another episode of the Realtor Coach. This month, we're now into the second quarter of the year. So, the first 3 months of the year was really our planning session and our strategy sessions. And now we want to get into more marketing, more how to, more tactical information, really get into the meat of your business. And what we want to start out with is obviously marketing, talking about marketing. But today we want to talk about the 20 biggest mistakes that most realtors make in this business. It's not necessarily because they want to be making mistakes, obviously, but the reason why they're making mistakes is because they're generally not taught. They're not taught in school. They're not taught from other people in the business, because most people in the business have no clue when it comes to what proper marketing is. So the first one is not testing your marketing. This to me is probably the biggest fault that most realtors make in their business, which is why it's ranked as number one. Not testing your marketing is it's going to lead you down a road and a path where you're going to be spending more money. You're going to be doing things that you shouldn't be doing. You're going to be spending time, energy, effort on items of value and marketing and direct marketing pieces, online pieces that you have no business doing anyways. And it's not because they're not necessarily effective, but if there's better ways to spend your time, money, energy, and effort in the business, why wouldn't you be doing it? That's the question you have to ask yourself all the time. And that comes down to testing your marketing. Are you getting a result? Are you getting return on your investment when it comes to the money that you're putting out, the time you're putting out, the effort that you're putting out? So that's the number one thing that most realtors fail to do. It's not testing your marketing. And it's very easy and simple to do. You really just have to put one tracking piece in place. If you have a direct marketing piece, you just put, you track it yourself. You can get somebody else to track it for you. But it's very simple to test and track your return on your investment. So number two is running institutional advertising, direct response marketing. Most realtors, especially nowadays in 2015, most realtors want sort of the easier way out of doing things. They want a cheaper way of doing things. They want to see the results first before they spend money back in their business. So they fail to go back to institutional advertising. And what we mean by that is using like the U.S. Postal Service, the Canada Postal Service, direct response marketing, getting people engaged with you. It's going to cost you way more time, money, and effort. But the result you're going to get, the return on your investment is going to be far outweigh what you ever get online. Online is sort of the low-hanging fruit. It's the sort of thing to do nowadays. It's potentially high leverage with low cost, especially pay per clicks. And so you have like free ad campaigns, they work for some people. They work for agents who are sort of like that phase one. You have less than 25 sales per year. You don't want to necessarily spend money on the growth and expansion of your business. And they fail to get into the actual direct response marketing. Jay Abraham talks about, you have a 10,000 person sales team if you have 10,000 pieces of marketing going out, because each piece of marketing essentially acts as a hired sales representative that represents you when you are not around, and speaks volumes for realtors who are not using it. If you look at any top producing agent, they all do it without fail. So number three of the 20 top mistakes, marketing mistakes, is not articulating and differentiating you and your business. Real estate sales, especially, is a very competitive business. Real estate in general is competitive with, from investing to selling to marketing to managing, whatever you want to do within real estate. But sales, particularly, is a very competitive business. You get potentially have high commission checks and low entry of a barrier of entry to get into the business. So you typically have a lot of people who are willing to, cut their commission. They're willing to sort of tell the clients anything they want to hear just to get the sale. And you running a legitimate professional business, you have to compete with everybody, not just one person yourself. So one of the biggest things is you have to articulate your differentiator and what your amplification is. So I love this quote. It's information not articulated is information not appreciated. And what most realtors, I should say, fail to do is discuss with their client and articulate very well what they do that differentiates them, that the client would really appreciate. Most sellers in the business, or buyers for that matter in the business, really don't know what a realtor does in a day-to-day sort of working day or working week, weekends, working evenings, on the phone all the time, managing things. So if you don't articulate that, they're going to have a perception as though you're not doing what you think what they think you should be doing. Number 4 is not having a back end product. Most realtors I discuss, I would say over 98% of realtors I talk about only have one source of revenue, which is the actual commission sales. If you don't have a back end product, then you're relying on your clients to come back to you, if they come back to you at all, once every potential 7 years, which is in the housing market, and once every 3 to 4 years in the condominium market. That is a long time to wait in between paychecks from one person. So what you want to do is have it develop. If you don't develop, then you have to look at potentially being an affiliate of somebody else's product. But you definitely need to have a back end product that you're selling to your clients ongoing, whether that's books or DVDs or information or marketing fees. Marketing fee is a good one. So marketing fee, if your client, let's say they refer you out to somebody and you can't necessarily do the sale because it's in a different jurisdiction, you can still charge a marketing fee where your understanding of being a marketer is going to be charged. So you charge that referring person a marketing fee of $5.95 or $9.95, whatever you want to charge them. And that is one of the greatest things and greatest techniques you can use as a realtor, especially in this competitive marketplace that we're in today. I would really differentiate you, and people really stand up and say, you're the only person I've spoke to who wants to charge something up front. And that's a back-end product, and essentially no realtor does in Canada or the US. So it's a great way to develop a different revenue stream, different revenue source for your business. So number 5 is not understanding the real needs and the desires of your clients you are targeting. For example, if you're advertising sellers using buyer marketing and vice versa, so if you're looking to get more buyers, but the marketing you're sending out is really directed towards sellers, you really have to pinpoint down who you're targeting and what your sort of client or seller avatar looks like. And what I mean by that is, what's the demographic? What's their age group? Are you, sending out high growth investing real estate to people who are retired and just want to not invest in real estate anymore? Are you sending, retirement marketing targeted towards elderly people to, downtown 1-bedroom condo people who are probably like 25 years old? So you really have to figure out what the real needs and desires of your clients are that you are targeting. Most realtors, sadly, don't take the time to sit back and figure out who they want to work with and what their true needs are. So when I was selling real estate, my sort of niche was dealing with doctors and lawyers and investors. Those are sort of the 3 main categories of people I worked with. And the main need of doctors and lawyers are someone who can manage their money and who is a trusted person. And typically speaking, what happens is doctors and lawyers, as soon as they graduate university, they've spent their entire lives getting to that point. They begin to come into a significant amount of money, usually well over 6 figures for somebody who's new into the business. But they don't know the first thing about real estate investing or investing in general, whether it's the stock market or whatnot. So they need a trusted advisor. So I was really on the side of dealing with investors exclusively, but it seemed to be I was attracting doctors and lawyers all the time. The reason being is because they still wanted to invest, not just in their own property, but they wanted to invest in multiple properties, knowing that they could afford it, knowing that they'd have the sort of bank backing with their new profession. And the challenge with it was they didn't know the first thing about money, period. It wasn't just investing. But we had to go over things like budgeting and sort of portfolio management and how to grow a decent portfolio. And I really understood the needs of those clients. And that was really my target. And that's why my success grew to the way it grew. And it's not necessarily because I was just randomly picking people. It's because I had a very specific targeted audience and I understood the needs and desires of that client. So number 6 is educate your way out of business problems. One of the problems I think with most realtors, it's a unique business whereby pretty much anybody can get into the business. Aside from sort of somebody with a criminal background, I think that's probably the only thing that would stop most people from getting a license in real estate. But the problem with most people is once they get licensed, they don't continue the education that they really need to do to grow a business, a successful business, I should say. The most local boards, most local institutions do not educate realtors in a way that they need to in order to grow a successful, profitable business, especially from a marketing standpoint. So what most realtors do, sadly, is they don't educate themselves on how to better market, better articulate, better sell themselves and their services. So what they typically do, they revert back to cutting price. They cut back their commissions, they work for less money. But what they need to do is educate the clients. What we coach is that you should be charging more. The jurisdiction we live in and work in, it's an average about 5% per listing. So what we do is coach you to charge 5.5%, 6%, charge an upfront marketing fee. And what you want to do is rely on your education and knowledge base, and you'll find that people are happy to pay it as long as you can articulate very well on what they're actually getting in exchange for that higher rate. So educate your way out of business problems. Number 7 is not making business and marketing easy and fun. This is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I have to go into this too deep, but you have to have fun. Every day should be a fun time in your business. It should be fun. Marketing is probably one of the most fun things you could do when it comes to business because you have a great imagination. There's no real restrictions to what you can do. I've seen some really funny stuff out there, and you can really tell the agents who they're having fun in the business because their marketing reflects that as well. And clients will respond to that more so than something that's just very generic and sort of not necessarily funny, but it has sparks an imagination, sparks an interest in the client base. So just make each day fun and easy, and it's going to make your whole life better, not just your business. So number 8 is not telling your clients the reason why. Again, there's so many different things we could talk about. We tried to narrow it down to 20, but your clients need to hear from you constantly. So often in this business, you work very, very hard to deal with a client, get a client, acquire the client, and then what do? The first thing you do is stop talking to them because you're busy doing the work to get their property sold or to finding them a property on the buying side. And most realtors fault on the fact that they don't stay in constant contact with their client base. So your client needs to hear from you, and they can't be left in the dark. It doesn't matter what you're doing, no matter what sort of activity you're doing, how small or irrelevant you may think it is, your client really wants to know, and they'll appreciate the fact that you will call them and say, look, we've just loaded your listing onto the MLS. It is now live. You can call them, you can email them. A call is obviously better, but then you call them on every step along the way. The photos were just ordered, the photos were delivered. We have our print marketing in-house. We're now delivering the print marketing to your home. You'll see an open house this weekend. We've had X number of showings this week. As small as it may seem to you, your client will really appreciate the fact that you're telling them the reason why you're doing something. There might be other reasons why, again, you're trying to make a sale and they want to know just why. Why are you doing it? Why does your marketing look the way it does? Why are you putting out a just listed car? Like, what's the reasoning behind all that? So it's important to explain that to them. Terminating marketing that is working. So again, it's very important to terminate marketing that isn't working, right? So that's number 1 on our list. Test your marketing, and anything that's failing, get rid of instantaneously. But I think one of the largest problems I see in this business is terminating marketing that is working. The problem with most realtors is they don't see this immediate result, okay? So they start a new marketing campaign. It may be an incredible campaign. They do it for a month or maybe 2, and they say, look, I got no specific dedicated results to this marketing, and they just stop working. Most marketing takes 3 to 6 months to find out whether it is working or not working. So if you're going to do a new campaign, you have to commit to 3 to 6 months and then make the decision of whether it's working or not working. And that determination is not necessarily just from a sale. So you got to see, is it driving more traffic to your website? Is it driving more traffic to your phone? Are you getting more phone calls? Are you getting more people to your live events, your coaching events, your open houses? So you have to track all the figures and all of these sort of angles that your business will eventually grow from. And what you want to do, it goes back to number 1, which is testing your marketing. So you got anybody who shows up at your open house, or your live event, or if you're hosting a webinar, which is another great way nowadays to get people interested in real estate. Your marketing will determine how much traffic that is driving. That's another key indicator that it is working. So again, you have to make sure you don't eliminate the ones that are working. Number 10 is not specifically targeting your market. Are you fishing for goldfish using live bait? And the reason why I said that is goldfish don't eat live food. So they eat these sort of like these pellets, and they eat this like dry food base and algae and green vegetable type material. So the other question you have to ask yourself is, are you fishing for buyers using seller information? Are you fishing for sellers using buyer information? Are you targeting the housing market using condominium marketing? Are you targeting the condo market using housing marketing? So you really have to figure out who you are specifically targeting in your marketplace. Are you looking for investors but just using broad-based marketing? Investors do not respond to that. They're too educated and they know specifically what they're looking for to do that. And the vice versa is true. Are you targeting just random people who are not necessarily looking to invest, but just looking to buy or sell real estate using investor marketing? People won't respond to investor marketing the way you think they may if it's just to say, let's buy 6 homes this year, and they just want to buy one. So you have to really be specifically targeting people you're interested in. Capturing emails, addresses, and phone numbers. I also faulted at this one when I first started in the business. One, my excuse was, I should have no excuse, but the excuse was technology just wasn't great back then. So most of my information was captured, literally handwriting it out on pieces of paper. John Smith, this is where he lives, here's his phone number. The problem with it is tracking it. Finding it. You had a Rolodex at one point. I had a file system at one point. It wasn't really until I got an automated email system that I began to capture more and more emails, and my business really skyrocketed because of it. It's easier to track people. If somebody calls you out of the blue, it's easier to find their information instantaneously versus trying to find a file folder like who is this person, what they buy, why are they calling me, are they a referral, who referred them. All that information is very, very important, very key. And again, your database is a gold mine. You'll spend less money, less time, less effort dealing with people you've already dealt with than trying to acquire new business. But sadly, again, most realtors just do not do this, which is why it's on the list. Number 12 is not being strategic. I faulted with this when I first was in the business. I just wanted to do what everybody else was doing. I just wanted to know what the tactics were, what were the how-tos. I had no strategy, no plan, no sort of plan of attack. I didn't look at it from a higher standpoint. I just sort of went after it and worked my butt off. And the problem was that wasn't working. I was working 7 days a week, making no business, and I wasn't being strategic. I was just being tactical, right? And that's the problem with that was it really caused me to really second guess the business. I didn't think it was really going to be for me. I just said I don't want to work 7 days a week, earning what I could earn working 5 days a week at like a normal blue collar job. And the problem was I really didn't even have guidance. No one really in this business can tell you how to be strategic because most people don't know how to be strategic themselves. So you really have to look at sort of a successful realtor in your business and reflect as what they're doing. And typically what it boils down to is they're being very strategic. They're targeting very specific people. So my strategy was to deal with investors when I initially started out after I learned about strategy. And then that grew into working with specifically doctors and lawyers. And I found that most doctors and lawyers own multiple properties. They want to be investors, but they're very poor at being investors. So they needed a guider, so somebody there can hold their hand. They could sort of really, they needed an advisor, someone who could sell them not just real estate, but other forms of investing. And that's where my niche really helped me grow my business. But again, I was being very strategic in my approach. So not having a marketing system in place that can run while you're away or run without your input. And what I mean by that is this goes back to being strategic. Do you have a plan in place? What is your strategy? Are you going to target FSBOs or expired listings or home evaluators? Are you going to target sellers, buyers? What is your marketing? Is it specifically targeted to specific people? If you're going to be dealing with investors, what is the strategy? Are you going to have a live event and try and develop people into investors? So all this needs to have a marketing system in place so that when you are away, the marketing system is still running. Most realtors, sadly, when they leave their business just shuts down. And when they come back into their business off of a vacation or a holiday, it starts back up again because they're there to put their input in. That's a huge mistake. Most successful businesses, even outside of real estate, they have a system in place and they just run that system. It doesn't matter who's running it because it's a simple step-by-step, sort of like follow 1, 2, 3, and then the marketing gets done. You have to see the results. So you need to develop a marketing system. Utilizing both offline and online strategies is the key to taking advantage of the internet. Okay, so when you have just an online strategy, which goes back to one of our earlier mistakes most realtors make, Yes, it's a great way to leverage quickly and it's inexpensive. But amplification, which is the combination of multiple things, it will allow for greater yield and quicker results in your business place. So yes, it's okay to have just a website, or just like a Facebook page as your online strategy. But as soon as you combine that with an offline strategy where you push people towards your online strategy, that's what we call amplification. And that's when you're going to see some significant results. So in sales solutions, or when you're in a sales situation, if you shoot from the hip like most realtors do, the client can see it a mile away, they can smell it, they can taste it, they can feel it. They know you're not being authentic. Okay, the only way to be authentic in a sales situation is to know that you've already done it before. I've used the expression before, fake it till you make it, but it really doesn't work well in a sales situation, very specifically a sales situation. It's one thing to fake it till you make it in an education standpoint, or you're in a situation where it's not necessarily sales specific. But as soon as you get to that point where they're ready to make a sale, if you don't know what you're doing, they're going to know it and they're going to sniff it out and they're going to leave you as a realtor. There's no question about it. So the only way to do that is through education. So you have to educate yourself more than the seller. If the seller or buyer or the tenant or landlord ever knows more about the situation that you're currently in, how to buy a property, buy a condo, buy a house, buy a commercial property, if they know more than you, you've already lost and you won't get the sale. So it's very important to, one, stick to a niche, understand who your client is, what's their desires, and educate yourself more than that person. So being stuck doing what works. This is, I would say, the largest hurdle for experienced or veteran realtors. Okay, so when you're new in the business, you don't really know anything, and you don't know what you don't know. But what you do, you typically get into a rut. Your habits are habits you bring in typically from an outside business, but you quickly develop habits of things that will potentially bring you results, but not necessarily the results that you want. And sadly, most realtors get comfortable with specific annual gross commission income that they would earn, and they get stuck into a routine and a system that's going to continually get them the same result year after year after year. Now, it's very frustrating to most realtors because they know they could do better, they want more, but they keep doing the same things over and over and over and expecting a different result. And that's not great. So you have to stop being stuck and doing what works. So you have to try new things, you have to experiment, you can't be afraid to fail. If you're not testing your marketing every year that you're in the business, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, then you're being stuck in doing what works. And that's awful. You need to expand and continue to grow your business. This comes from our model at Young Realty, which is reinvesting profits in yourself, your business, and investments. Most realtors, sadly, they just want to make the commission check and then provide themselves with a life that they're comfortable with. Now, not necessarily the life they want, but they're happy to make a commission check in a month, or two in a month maybe, and they'll provide them with a nice life, maybe a nice house, maybe just one house, maybe one car, maybe two cars. It's hard to say, but it really doesn't do much for them. If you begin to reinvest your profits that you've taken back into your business, you see your business start to amplify, and you begin to invest profits in yourself, which is the key to learning. It's education. And most realtors, sadly, do not spend enough money on educating themselves on how to grow business, what marketing is, what investing is. Sadly, I think real estate's the only business in the world where you can sell something you don't own yourself, and a lot of realtors sell investment properties and they don't own them themselves. For me, I would never bring something to an investment client if I wasn't willing to buy it myself, and they knew that. And so that's why I sparked a lot of joint venture partners over the years, because I was willing to commit to them both from a capital standpoint and from an advisory role of every property that I was selling to my clients. So leveraging lifetime value of your clients. This goes back to collection of information. Your clients are worth, probably on the conservative side, 10 times what you currently earn from one commission check from them. Let's say your average commission check is $10,000 from your client. They're worth $100,000 lifetime value to you over the course of your career. Now, most realtors don't understand that concept, and they just want to make the deal today, and they're happy to work with them in the future, potentially, if they come back to them. But if you think about relationship capital, sort of what referrals they could potentially bring to you, what other services or products you could sell to them going forward, they're worth a heck of a lot more than 10 times your current value. So it's very important to leverage that. Most people don't do it just because they don't have a system in place that can do that for them. So it's sort of that they don't want to create more work for themselves. But if you had the system in place working for you day in, day out, it's very key to your business. Number 19 is maximize everything you do. Even if you're starting out, you're doing just one thing, make sure you maximize that one thing. So if you only have an online presence, make sure it's maximized to its biggest and highest ability. Don't leave any profits on the table. If you have a blog, make sure that blog is operating at high level. If you just have a website, make sure everything on that website is complete. If you have just a Facebook page, make sure that Facebook is totally maximized for profits. You don't want to leave anybody behind. You don't want to leave any profits on the table ever. What you really want to look at is when you're building your Parthenon. If you don't know what that is, you can check us back out at therealtorcoach.com. Last month, we did something with the Parthenon, which is essentially building different sources of revenue. And each revenue stream needs to be maximized every single year. And you have to do this by tracking it and analyzing it and reflecting on what you were doing and how you can increase it, if you can increase it. Sometimes you may already be maximized in your specific Parthenon that you're in, and you don't even realize it unless you track it. So make sure you keep maximizing everything that you're currently doing. And finally, number 20 is to integrate marketing and sales. One doesn't work well without the other. And most realtors think they're one and the same, but they're not. So your marketing, if it's not in line with your sales tactics, for example, I'll go back to my example. So if my marketing was just geared towards random people and I showed up and I was talking about investing, 90% of the people wouldn't be interested because they're not interested in investing. So if my marketing is targeted investors and I go in and speak to investors, then they're in line. And again, sadly, most realtors just want to spend their money. They want to just blast out a specific campaign to a specific neighborhood. It doesn't matter who it's getting to. They just think that it's great. And then unfortunately, that doesn't work that way. So marketing and sales, they all have to be integrated and they all have to be in line with each other for it to take off and to maximize your business. So that's it for today. This is a short lesson. It's a quick lesson, but it's very important now that we're entering into the second quarter of the year and going forward. We're going to be growing your business. And remember to check out therealtorcoach.com. If you're a realtor in Canada and specifically Toronto right now where we're growing, you can go to joinyoungrealty.com. That's a portal for you to get in contact with me directly if you're interested in joining our brokerage. And if you're interested in joining our brokerage and want more information, you can go to youngrealty.ca. Thanks and good luck.